Thanks for joining us. The Ramones helped define the movement that came to be known as punk rock. It's even said they were the first punk rock band. With their shaggy bowl haircuts and black leather jackets, it was hard to distinguish the real lives of the band members from their on-stage personas. The Ramones took on the defiant attitude they expressed in their music. They even replaced their own surnames with Ramone. Over the years, there were 8 Ramones in the band. Richie came along in the middle period, right between the beginning in 1974 and the flameout in the mid-90s. While he was only with the band for about 5 years, he's kept the name Ramone, but he's moved beyond rock music. Richie Ramone is a virtuoso drummer, and a few years ago, he took on the ambitious task of rearranging the Leonard Bernstein classic West Side Story for drums. He was in Utah a few weeks ago performing the piece, and we caught up with him to talk about music and life in a seminal rock band. Ramone says he found the drums early in his life.
I found them, that all happened like kindergarten, I guess. You know, when you have that thing where everybody gets up at recess and marches around the room and they have this like dirty little cardboard box and you pull out these toys. Well, I never pulled out anything you wanted to blow or nothing. I'd pull out the sand blocks or something like that. No, really, and that's how it started. And I had that percussion thing going. Then, like by 5, I was already taking lessons. So
for you, it's kind of a natural affinity that you have for it. For percussion, right?
Totally, yes. You got it.
I think you said once that there was a difference between people who drum and drummers.
Good one. Why'd you read that? Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, there are people who drum. There are people who take up drums and drum and just get to this level, you know, where they think they're good or they're limited. They can drum. You can go to a nightclub and see someone who drums. But a drummer is somebody who really takes the art form to the other level. You know, there are drummers who play melodic with 40 tom-toms and all that. I use just a tie-down 4 or 5-piece kit, and that's it. That's where the art is, making all the drums sing. So basically, drummers, you're making it sing. Mm-hmm. Playing drums, you're just beating the skins. So,
when you were first playing, was there a kind of music that you were drawn to? I mean, I'm thinking about jazz, but there's also, you were classically trained as well.
Right. Well, I had an older brother who was 5 years older than me. He became a music major in college. He was a saxophone player. So I was always 5 years ahead. So when I'd go hang with his crowd and jam with his bands, he was really into funk and all that R&B, you know, from early 70s. And so I got a lot of R&B experience from driving horn sections and stuff like that. Mm. So that was where all my live stuff came, which is another point. You know, you can read out of books. If you're not playing live and listening to other musicians, then you're just going to be playing drums again. So, and then there was all the schooling through, you know, junior high and high school, where that's where I got into playing in the symphonies and the big bands and all that kind of stuff. So there's a big background of different kinds of music. I never focused in on one type of music or sit there and listen to one drummer and try to copy. No, just take it in your ears and put it out your own way. That's how you get good.
Is it is there a point when you cross over from, you know, you're practicing, you're learning, and is there a point when you cross over when it becomes kind of second nature in drumming?
Yes, it's just like you learned how to ride a bicycle.
Yeah.
I don't know if you learned what training wheels, but you take those training wheels off and that's when it becomes second nature. But still, you still need to keep up your chops and practice. It's second nature, but you got to put work into it. And you'll look at that like at the pro golfers and everything. You know, those guys hit 1,000, 2,000 balls a day. They practice every day. I mean, you got to do that. You got to keep it up.
What's it like playing jazz? I mean, there's a kind of freedom in that form that I'm wondering if you like that style.
Like that style. I like jazz fusion, where someone's holding that 4/4 or 5/4 time down, and you just play around that. And hopefully they find their way back in. It's really a lot of fun. That's totally different than rock and roll where you're doing a 1, 2, 3, 4 beat.
When you first started joining a rock band, you know, it was about the music, but it's also about it seems in some ways for you and other people, it's about the statement you're making too.
Exactly.
It's about rebellion, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're getting that I was a jazz musician before. No, I wasn't a jazz musician. I mean, I played, you know, rock with many little bands around. You know, the Ramones were my first national break that really put me on the map. So, but there is a difference.
Yeah.
And, you know.
What's the thing that appealed to you about rock and roll music, about punk music?
Well, punk, you know, punk's a lifestyle. I mean, okay, that's teenage rebellion and, you know, whatnot. And I guess growing up in New Jersey, I was one of those kind of kids, you know. And if you, punk, you know, it's a total, you live that lifestyle. And I was like a few years behind these guys, so when the punk scene hit, I was a few years younger. I wasn't right there at that time. And I was saying before that I went to see this band when I was in high school, a year out of high school, and then ended up in the band 8 years later. It's kind of different, but you know.
Do you remember your reaction when you saw them? I mean, what did you think?
I thought, wow, this is something new. I really wasn't in love with it.
Really?
I remember what was going on then was Emerson, Lake and Palmer and all that big arena rock, and this was like this raw thing. And you know, and I remember I took a bunch of friends there, and they all wanted to leave, but you know, we saw one set and left, and that was kind of my first experience with that type of music, you know. So, and then I ended up being there in the end. So it was kind of interesting, fun story.
I think you once said that. About your experience with the Ramones, that the Ramones, they were more than a band. You said the Ramones, it was like it was a religion.
Right, total religion. I mean, when you go to a band that sold maybe, you know, 100,000 copies or more of an album, a little bit more, and the millions of fans that are incorporated, these fans were totally loyal. I mean, they all came out. Everywhere we went, we packed the place. Everything was sold out. So if we were selling records to all those people, you know, we would sold a lot of records, but I think, you know, they bought one record and everybody copied it, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, it was a religion. I mean, these people knew everything about you, what you ate for breakfast. I mean, it gets scary sometimes.